Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Got my wires all wrapped up and it's really messing up my vibe. I love that you can just like see the head of the ghost right there. Just his little head. He's just chilling over there. He says hello, everybody. I don't have a name for him. I need a name for him. So let's name him in the comments down below. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm bringing you another episode of Books Before Bed, the series here on my channel where we get all snuggly and comfy in our jammies, get in bed, and talk about books before bed. Woo! Books Before Bed intro card here. Yeah, that was just lovely, 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 lovely. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope that you guys have been having some great reads this month. I've been having a mixed bag of reads, both good and bad, but overall I've been enjoying my reading this month. I feel like today I'm just going to be talking about a bunch of random things. I have one topic that I want to talk about, and I had my channel members submit topics, and then I'm going to be commenting on your comments. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is traveling and reading. I'm getting ready to do some traveling, and I also just got back from a trip. I'm literally turning around and going on another trip, but this time around I'm taking hella books with me. I only took a few books with me this past weekend and I got 0 reading done. I feel like I just always assume that I'm going to read a lot while I travel, and then I typically like never read anything ever, and I know that I should like take that into account when I'm packing for this next trip that I'm going on, but like I'm not. I'm literally taking like 10 books. Will I touch any of them? Stay tuned to find out. I really do feel like I will find the opportunity to read quite a bit on this trip in particular. I'm going to do my best to prioritize reading, which I know it like doesn't necessarily matter and like I shouldn't force myself to read, but I like genuinely am in the mood to read, and I haven't had that much time to read lately. I've been trying my best to just like fit it in whenever I can. And even this past weekend when I was on a little mini trip, I was like, I'm totally going to have pockets of time where I can read. And then every time I had some kind of pocket of time, I just needed to lie down and decompress. So that's what I did instead of reading, which I guess you could say that reading itself is a decompression activity. Like it's a way you can relax. It's a way where you can just like take a second to breathe, take a second to escape from the world. But for me, it's not always the case. Like it definitely can be an escape, but I find it to be a little bit more on the challenging side just because I'm like actively having to use my brain while I'm reading. And so I prefer my decompression time to just be like lying down and breathing. And sometimes it involves scrolling, which I know is not the best form of self-care, but that's just the case. Anyway, I feel like I've just always struggled with like reading and traveling. I feel like more times than not, it's because like I want to experience things when I'm traveling and I don't want to just like have my head in a book. Like I want to look at the world around me and create my own stories. Oh yeah, create my own narrative, have my own coming of age story while I'm on a trip. But this trip in particular, it's a place I've been to several times. It's New York City. So I'm going to New York. I'm taking a bunch of books with me. Part of the reason why I'm taking a bunch of books with me though is because I'm on a book buying ban. And like normally when I go to New York, I just like spend. I go to bookstores everywhere and I feel the need to buy a book every bookstore I go. And I just like can't do that anymore. I'm completely out of that mindset as well, which let me just say, my ban is one that like allows me to buy books. I just have to like earn the books I buy. I basically have to read through books in order to buy books, but I still just would like to not buy much on this trip. I will probably buy a book or two. I'm gonna fully admit that because I'm going to some of my favorite bookstores and I just can't help myself when I'm there, you know? For the most part, I'm gonna try to be tame and try to like recognize the fact that like I don't need any new books. I don't. I just realized that I kind of blend in with the background here. That's just not that great, is it? I literally look like I'm a part of the comforter. I am not, I promise. I'm a different shade of green. I'm literally taking 10 books with me, which I feel like is not even the most amount of books I've taken with me on a trip before. That's a little tame, in my opinion, honestly. No, but I feel like just having those books with me will prevent me from buying books. Or so I hope. I don't know if it's actually going to help me. I feel like I'm going to take all these books, not read any of them, and just have to like literally carry them back home with me. And I'll also have to carry the books that I bought home with me. And that will just be a grand old time. Outside of the fact that I like to kind of create my own stories when I'm traveling, I also just like have a hard time reading on planes, reading in airports. And I think it's just because like I'm surrounded by people and I'm used to just like being in my bed and reading on my own, not having anyone to deal with, not having any sort of like distraction around me, and I'm also just like the most nosy person ever. So like when I'm in a public place and there are lots of people around, like I'm listening to conversations, I'm looking around me, I'm very aware of my surroundings, which honestly I feel like living in the world that we live in, ooh, you gotta be looking around you, you gotta be looking around you. But yeah, just in general, I get distracted very easily, which is funny because like I can go to a cafe or I can go to the library and I can easily just like sink myself into a book, and those places are typically like filled with other humans. So I'm not sure why in particular the airport is something that just like upsets my reading life, but it does. And maybe that's partly because I'm also just like an anxious traveler, and so like I'm always afraid I'm gonna miss my flight, even though I literally show up to my flight like 2.5 hours early and sit there and wait and bored and it's easy, but I still am just like an anxious little bean and I can't help that about myself. One thing I really enjoy about traveling is actually like observing the people around me and what they're reading. I feel like it's so interesting just seeing the variations of books that you find on an airplane or in an airport, and I just love seeing that variety and just seeing like what a book kind of says about a person. I don't necessarily think that you can like fully judge a person based off the book that they're reading, because like they don't know what they're getting into. It could be like the worst book ever and they don't know that yet, or they do in fact know that and they just have terrible taste. But I just like love just being nosy and looking at what people are reading, and also visiting bookstores and airports. One of my favorite things to do. I know, ban, book buying ban. Bookstore plus ban do not go hand in hand, but there are some solid bookstores and airports out there, and I will be visiting the ones in the airport that I find myself in. And don't worry, I will just be using my method of find an interesting book, snap a picture of it, and walk away. Walk away. Do not pick up the book and find yourself at the register, Jesse. Don't do it. You don't need the dang book. I had my channel members hook me up with prompts for today's video, so I'm going to be going through those so that I have things to talk about, because sometimes I get on here and I'm like, what do I even talk about? What will people find interesting? First up, I'd love to hear about your library finds. Ooh, I've been having a lot of luck at the library lately. I feel like the ones that come to mind are Untethered Sky and then the Montague twins. Let's talk about them separately. So first up, the Untethered Sky. This one, I am obviously familiar with the author, but I was not expecting to find this book in the library, just because like popular author means all their books are typically checked out at my library. But I was just browsing the shelves one day, came across it, and I was like, this is mine. I will read this immediately. And that's exactly what I did. Like I took it home and I just completely ate it up, and I loved everything about it. Like I feel like it just fueled my soul with love, and I'm so excited to eventually get around to buying this one. Obviously, ban. We're on a ban. But like once my book buying ban allows me to buy a book, I'm going to be snatching that up real quick. It was just the perfect little fantasy novella. And I have not read Fonda Lee yet. Like I haven't read any of their books, even though I own special editions of their books. I literally have the Illumicrate special editions of the Jade City trilogy, which is ridiculous, but I just bought it hoping that I would end up loving it. Now that I've read Untethered Sky though, I feel a lot less intimidated by the Jade City trilogy. And it's not necessarily that I was like super intimidated by it, but I just think there's something intimidating in general about fantasy books and starting a fantasy book, because there's so much that goes into starting a fantasy book. It's not just like an easy breezy hop into a book moment, at least not for me. I'm somebody who feels like fantasy is a little bit more work. I have to like really use my imagination and just allow the author to build up this world and kind of allow my thoughts to go there and allow my thoughts to be like, okay, let's try to visualize what this world looks like. And like that's a lot of work. And then there's the learning the characters on top of that and kind of understanding the plot. All those aspects come into play. But I feel like having read Untethered Sky, I don't know if it's anything like the Jade City trilogy. I would imagine it's completely different, which is okay. But like I really loved the writing style in that book. I felt like it was just it was just so good. It healed me. It healed a part of me that I didn't know needed healing. I loved how jam-packed it was despite it only being like around 200 pages. Like I just felt like there was so much going on, and there's still a part of me that really wishes it would have been expanded into a series. And this is coming from somebody who like loves standalones and like wants every series and every trilogy and every duology just to be a standalone. But like this is one that I would love to see be expanded into a novella series. Like I just think that would be fantastic. And I feel like there's so much more left to explore, but I don't think we're going to be getting that. I'm not expecting to get that by any means. Then the other one that I mentioned is the Montague twins. This is one that I just randomly stumbled upon in the library. I love just kind of browsing the graphic novels section in particular at my library because I feel like they just always have such interesting titles there. And I also just feel like graphic novels are booming these days. Like I feel like when I first started getting into the bookish community and being a part of the book community online and whatnot, like the same 5 graphic novels were always recommended. And now it just feels like there's so much to offer in the graphic novel world. And I love that. I love having so many options. But this is one that I just randomly stumbled upon. I feel like it's like magical almost that it ended up in my hands and that I brought it home because it ended up being a new favorite for me. But I just love it so much. It's about these twins who are detectives, and there's a bit of a magical element that comes into play, and these girls go missing after casting a spell, and so the boys and their like half-sister, stepsister, she's not really a half-sister, she's not really a stepsister, she's technically their sister, but they're not blood related. Anyway, together they try to get to the bottom of this mystery, and it's just fantastic. I think the thing that was my favorite about it is the dialogue, and there were just so many funny dialogue moments that I was not expecting. Like I was literally laughing out loud while reading it, which is not an easy thing to get me to do. Well, I say that, and I feel like a lot of books lately have like had me laughing. I've laughed at quite a few books lately, so I don't know what I'm saying, but just it was the humor, it hit. I also really loved the illustration style. I loved the plot and where it went. I feel like it kind of went in a little bit of an unexpected place, and I'm excited to read the second book. Unfortunately, it is only a duology, and I really want it to be expanded into a series just because like I love these characters so much. Like they're just so fun, and I feel like they have so much depth. That's something that I also appreciated. I feel like a lot of times when I read graphic novels, I don't feel like I get to know the characters as well as I would like to, and it's just because like it's a different format, it's a different medium, and so it's really hard to get to the depths of the characters. But I feel like I really got to know the characters, and I feel like I'm going to get to know them so much more in the second book, and I'm just super excited about it. I did check out the second book from the library, but I'm not going to be able to read it before my trip, so I'm going to have to return it to the library, which makes me sad, but I'll get around to it someday. Honestly, just geek out about a recent read you've been obsessed with. Okay, well, I just geeked out about 2 recent reads that I've been obsessed with, but I will say one that I literally finished today, The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Spoiler for an upcoming video where I talk about this book, but I freaking love this book. I know it's like super mega popular right now. I feel like Ashley Poston has been having a moment ever since The Dead Romantics came out, and I just have to say I've been a fan since the Geekerella trilogy, so I was ahead of the curve over here. No, but I'm super glad that she's finally getting the recognition that she deserves because her books are fantastic. She's such a great writer. I feel like her books are just like the best way I can put it is that they just have such a happy tone to them. Like, even though there are hard-hitting things being explored in her books, like I feel like in particular The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip, they have a grief element, and those moments still hit, and you kind of are able to really feel the emotions of the characters and what they're going through. But there's also just such a lighthearted tone to her books. So you get into them, and while there are heavy things being explored, it doesn't like bring you down while you're reading them. They're still just like really enjoyable reads, and they just fill your life with so much light, and this was just fantastic. I feel like I'm still reeling over it just because I just finished it today, but I would highly recommend this book. I know it's like one of those mega popular books, but I feel like it had elements within it that I really loved. Like I obviously love stories that have grief and a death element within them, and I also love stories that mess around with time and use things like time travel and time loops and whatnot. This book utilizes a time manipulation element. I'm not gonna go much further than that because like read it and find out for yourself. And then also I just like loved kind of exploring the relationship that the main character Clementine has with her aunt. I feel like that was just so beautiful, just kind of like seeing how much her aunt meant to her and kind of exploring how difficult it was for her to pass and how strongly it has affected her life. So I highly recommend this book, The 7-Year Slip, and that is my gush for the day, my book gush. Favorite bookish items you own: bookmarks, mugs, bookends, clothing, fan art, etc. I own so many bookish things. It's ridiculous how many bookish things that I own, but the 2 things that come to mind immediately, one is a little redundant because I've been talking about these for a while now. If you follow my YouTube shorts at all, you've seen these. You know the addiction, you know the obsession, but that is my mini books, my mini book collection. They're so small and so fun and so perfect and so cute, and they make me happy, and I love looking at them. They're so tiny, so tiny. And I have suddenly fallen into a cringe place and I can't seem to get back up. Anyway, there's something about these that just brings me so much joy. I can't even explain it because it's not like I can even read the dang things, but like they're just so cute and I love looking at them. They make me happy. Sometimes it's hard to explain the things that make us happy, and I'm having a hard time with this. But like also I really need mini brands to make more of my favorite books because they currently don't make that many of my favorite books. They do have the Miss Peregrine's trilogy in mini form, and I've been trying to get the first book. That's the last part of my collection, and I've had no luck so far. The other thing that comes to mind is this. I can't remember what these are called. They're like bookshelf nooks, little bookshelf thingy. I can't remember what they're called, but like you put them in between your books and it looks like there's a whole nother world within your bookshelf. This I received from a friend for my birthday a few years back, and it's just one of my favorite things ever. It typically lights up, but I need to put new batteries in it, but it's just like a little street in Japan, and I have it next to some of my Japanese books on my bookshelf, and it just makes me so happy. Where is your favorite place to get bookish goods? I feel like shopping and I'm on a book buying ban. I totally get that. I feel like I've been going to a lot of bookstores lately, and instead of buying books, I've just been buying like little bookish goods. But honestly, my favorite place to find bookish goods are at like independent bookstores. I feel like they always are stocked to the nines with just like fantastic bookish goodies, from bookmarks to book plates to book pins to shirts to totes to postcards. So many bookish goods. I feel like I've struck gold lately just by going to like local independent bookstores. I love traveling and love hearing about other people's adventures. Traveling itself isn't very bookish, but do you have any favorite bookshops around the world? Any fun bookish experiences that you'd be willing to share while out of your home state or country? Yes, there is a bookstore in particular that I'm super excited to revisit when I'm in New York, because I've only visited it once and I've just been dying to go again just because of how cool and unique it is. But it's the Mysterious Bookshop. It's a bookstore that solely focuses on mystery books, and I just really love the vibe. Like just when you walk in, the environment itself is just like filled with like mystery decorations and stuff, and things that will just like trigger your mind to think about mystery books and mystery movies and things like that. And I just like love the environment. And then just like their selection of books is so unique. Like I love a bookstore that kind of like niches down and just solely focuses on one thing. And I just have a lot of respect for it, honestly. Mind you, I think that they do have like a little section within the bookshop that is for books outside of the mystery genre. So they do offer other things, but I also just like love the fact that they just like picked a genre and just kind of really honed in on it. I think it's so special and it makes it just super unique. I'm not sure how to word this, but how does a reader transition from reading mostly YA to reading adult? I haven't been picking up as many YA novels as I used to. Is it just a genre one grows out of? I completely get this. I feel like I'm going through this a little bit, but I also don't feel like I'm ever going to grow out of YA as a whole. I think that I, in general, have a burnout stage with every type of book that I read. Like there have been times when I've been burnt out from middle grade. There's times where I've been burnt out from manga. There's been times when I've been burnt out from fantasy itself. There's been times when I've been burnt out from contemporary, which I feel like is shocking because I'm always reading a contemporary book. And I feel like YA fits under that category where it's just something that you might get burnt out with if you're just consuming only that. I feel like I'm at a place with young adult books where I have to do a lot of research before going into them. Like very rarely these days can I pick up a young adult book at random and enjoy it. I feel like I have to know a lot about it. Whereas I used to just be able to like pick up whatever and read it and enjoy it. Now I'm much more critical about what I'm picking up, and I have to just like make sure that I think it's going to be something that I'm going to enjoy. Otherwise, it typically turns out to be a disaster. But I feel like the best way to kind of expand your horizons and read outside of YA books is just to like find adult versions of those young adult books that you're reading. So take a look at the books that you've really enjoyed that are YA and try to find books that are similar to them in the adult lane. I also feel like it's great to diversify who you're following in general when it comes to the bookish community, because there are so many great people out there who recommend amazing adult books and who will help guide you in finding your next favorite read. And also just like being open, being willing to try things. I think that that's something that we all can work on. It's just like allowing ourselves to try new things. And there are going to be times when it's not going to work out, but recognizing the fact that like you just have to keep trying and you just have to keep searching for that next great read. And you can do it. You've got this. Everything's going to be great. The last one I have here is how to stop reading so you don't stay up too late reading. I have such trouble because I want to know how it ends. Bestie, when you find the answer, let me know, because I have the same issue as you. If I am really enjoying a book, forget sleep. Why sleep when you can just stay up all night reading? Why not just finish the dang book? Why not stay up till the wee hours of the night and forget about your responsibilities the next day and just chow down on that book? Like, That's the best thing ever. I love when a book does that, honestly. Next up, I'm going to be commenting on comments. I selected 2 comments from the last Books Before Bed video. I always appreciate when you guys comment, and I want to highlight some of your comments, so that's what I'm going to do. In the last episode, I talked about my issues with rating books, and I also talked about my big book fatigue and how I just like really struggle with big books. And I got a few responses to that. This person says, I've noticed that I'm less impatient to finish long books when I read shorter books at the same time. I get the sense of accomplishment I need from finishing the short books, and then taking my time with the longer books is fine. See, now that's some big brained energy, and as somebody who reads books at the same time all the time, I should have been utilizing this from the start, but I have not. I feel like I typically will just like read several big books at the same time, which now that I think about it, maybe that's why I have big book fatigue, is because I'm reading big books all at the same time and I'm not getting that satisfaction of like finishing a book. So maybe I need to sneak in some small books. You're smart. This is why I need you guys. You guys keep me in line. You guys help me out and fix all my problems. I'm definitely going to be utilizing this tool. And then the other comment that I pulled is one that I am very intrigued by, and it's something that I want to do a little bit more research into, but it says, look into the Caw Pile rating system. You rate character, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment on a scale of 1 to 10. After that, you average them out and it gives you a star rating. It takes a little bit of extra work, but it definitely helped how I give star ratings. Like, how have I never heard of this before? Caw Pile is about to come into my life and change my life. I'm so interested in this. I'm definitely going to do a little bit more research into this because I feel like that system would really work out well for me. As I mentioned in that video, like I've been struggling with the star rating system. I still don't feel like I know exactly what I'm doing. I feel like I just need to restructure my rating system, and I feel like that sounds really good. That sounds like a really solid way to rate books. So I'm going to look into that. Thank you so much for your suggestion. And to end off this video, we're going to be doing the last, current, and next. I'm going to be talking about my last read, my current read, and my next read. My last read and the book that I literally finished today is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. You guys heard me gush about this book. I really loved it. I highly recommend it. I feel like a lot of you guys have probably already read this book. So if you have, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Even if you have a differing opinion than me, even if you really didn't like it, I'd love to hear from you and just explain why you didn't like it. But also, if you loved it, tell me what about it you loved. My current read, aka the book that I will be starting, is The Devil Makes 3. I picked this book up recently when I read and ranked the first line of like 10 books, and this was the winning book. And I decided that the winning book would be one of my next reads, and so I'm finally going to make that happen. I'm going to be reading this over the next few days. I'm super excited about it. It's basically about a haunted library and this girl who unleashes the devil and has to, you know, figure out how to get rid of the devil. So I'm super excited about it. I feel like it's going to be filled to the brim with chaos, and that's something that I really enjoy. I love chaos. Bring on the chaos. Bring on the madness. I'll take several slices of that pie. And then the next book after I finish The Devil Makes 3 that I will be picking up is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This will be my first intentional step into the cozy fantasy genre, and I'm very much so looking forward to it. This is a genre that I've been interested in for a very long time now. I feel like I just love the idea of a fantasy story that's just like calm, that doesn't have like a war happening or doesn't have full-on chaos. I love chaos. Bring on the chaos. I love the chaos, but there are times when I just want to like just chill, you know, just have an easy breezy beautiful time, and I feel like that's what this is going to deliver. This is one that sounds like it's going to be a little bit on the romance heavy side of things, so we will see how I feel about that, but overall I'm super excited about this book. We follow a girl who is trying to put together an encyclopedia of fairies, and she doesn't really enjoy like talking to people or hanging around people, and she's kind of having to find herself fitting into this small town that she's just moved into, and this guy shows up who is apparently an academic rival of hers, and I think that that's where the romance situation comes into play. We will see. That is it for this episode of Books Before Bed. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you had a chill time. I hope that you were able to kind of wind down a little bit. I want to hear from you guys now down below in the comments. Obviously comment on any of the topics that I mentioned throughout this episode, but also let me know down below in the comments your last, current, and next. Your last read, your current read, and your next read. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon, and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.